Hello to everyone who have joined the session. Welcome to another Agacad webinar. My name is Pavlos, and today I will present to you the latest advances in wood and metal framing software for Revit. Today's agenda obviously will focus around new features and software updates that we've implemented for Agacad wood and metal framing software over the last 1+ year. So these include updates to user interface, some changes to the web page, technical documentation, and updated brand, as well as new features and feature enhancements. So a bit about myself. I'm a BIM application engineer and a product manager in Agacad. I'm a graduate of architecture at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow. I'm also a certified Autodesk Revit professional. Before I joined Agacad over 4 years ago now, I worked in London for an architectural practice where I built my experience working on several construction sites as well. Today I'm responsible for the software implementation, development, technical support with all sides of businesses. I'm also your contact for wood and metal framing software and CNC exporters. And briefly about Agacad, which is an authorized Autodesk developer that has a wide range of applications for Revit and useful features for complex and specific workflows. We are also a member of the global leader in digital transformation, the Agacad group. So in the slide, you can kind of see the brief history of Agacad, which is quite an interesting one. Actually, we started the tools you currently use back in 2007, so it's been a while. Our main focus of development is in 3 areas. As you can see in the product portfolio slide, it's modeling, documentation, and data management. Our key goal is to help Revit users of various disciplines improve their BIM process workflows. We do this by eliminating unnecessary tasks and ensuring Revit model accuracy. This saves vast amounts of time and lets our clients focus on tasks that actually create value. Over the years, we have developed a wide range of BIM software, which you can see on the screen, including precast concrete, metal framing, timber framing, MEP hangers, and others. And the focus of today's webinar, like I mentioned, is going to be around latest advances in wood and metal framing software implemented over the last 1 or so year. Okay, so you can see the packages highlighted in red. So there are some general updates we will be talking over and then looking at some of the examples. These would include, well, just a quick look at the rebranding, the web, and the technical documentation platform that we have changed. Some quick glance at Agacad doc, general user interface features that are consistently rolled out for all the tools, Wall Plus user interface, and some other user interface enhancements over there. So in the screenshot, you can see our user guides, or in other words, a technical documentation, which sits on a new platform that's a lot more convenient, actually. Okay, so right over here, you can see the web page from which you can access the technical documentation. If you go training and support, you will see the web page we've just seen previously, which will lead you to the technical support page that's now based on Gitbook platform. So we have remade all the technical documentation for our software, now stored on a Gitbook platform. The new technical documentation is much easier to use than previously, so you'll be able to find exactly what you're searching for much faster. So you have downloads in the below section below this video. You also have obviously getting started videos here. And by the way, in the download section, you can download the sample projects. You're still able to raise support tickets for technical queries like before. And on the left in the sort of tree by the topics, you can access and search for all kinds of documentation for different tools. Now, in terms of the search engine here, obviously the same as before, you type in a word or a phrase and you look for relevant articles to answer your technical question or give you help along the way, understanding the workflow. Right here, so CLT page, step by step, how to use that. But also Gitbook gives us the ability to type in the phrase or the keyword, and using Gitbook's built-in AI search called Lens, it will give out the particular answer to your question. So actually kind of skipping searching the articles. If you just type in the question or the phrase, it will give you the answer. Now, when it comes to Agacad doc, it has also gone through some improvements, mainly visual, as a result of the rebrand. So you can see the logos have changed. Some of its functionality has also been improved. So doc is now able to work faster, and it's just a bit more convenient in terms of the use. So over here you have the portfolio of CNC exporters for wood or metal framing, and you can see the entire portfolio in there. Now, when it comes to some of the general user interface updates, a recent major development in Agacad is the new user interface that we've implemented for all the products. In addition to incorporating the colors and the icons that came with the rebranding, the user interface was remade so that the underlying software is easier to use. We structured it differently so that it is more intuitive and easier to use, obviously, and it's also easier on the eyes. So you can see in this blog post about the user interface changes how we compare the menus side by side and can see the difference. Now, when it comes to Wall Plus user interface, we've simplified and enhanced the UI for 3 most popular wall framing toolsets. So their fresh design and style and arrangement are both more visually appealing and more intuitive, empowering users to streamline the project workflows and improve all related processes. Specifically, we rearrange certain functionality into 2 floating windows with icons so users can understand and navigate the toolsets more easily. These windows consolidate all the essential features for adding, editing, and modifying elements. Users can minimize them to save working space and avoid clutter. We also have combined modify frame, modify opening, and modify wall join options into modify frame option, which we will see just in a moment. So right now, if we look at add modify elements, floating window that you're also able to expand and contract, you can see all the features that you previously had only now consolidated in one window. Same applies for edit elements. This section puts the features for editing existing elements together in one place. Things like align elements, split, move, trim, extend, delete, restore, and cut beams. So previously these features were spread over 2 different windows. Now this consolidation simplifies the workflows and saves users the valuable time. So in the screenshot here, you can see how it used to look, and it all pointing to a single floating window. Okay, so same with edit elements. Now you used to have 2 windows to navigate. You now have a single one, just to be more convenient when working with framing or cutting elements, etc. So the other quite useful user interface upgrade is the hiding of unused tabs for sheeting and paneling. It greatly appreciated by a lot of people so far, so I think it will be in the future as well. So it narrows down the configuration to exact sheeting you're editing, right? So I'm about to go into sheeting configuration and show you exactly that, right? I go split parts, modify sheeting paneling configuration. And you can see that now, if I go to panel layout or division profile, it kind of gives me the very configuration of the paneling that I have selected on. So it just hides the unused tabs, just like with sheeting. Okay, the hide and use tabs selection is on, and I'm only in this case seeing the outer sheeting of the wall that has many sheeting layers, right? So it just points you to the correct location and where you can adjust things. Through here also you can create a new configuration. So for example, you have sheeting layout for which you don't have configuration. By simply modifying the existing sheeting and using this window over here, you can recreate the configuration and apply that configuration for other walls and sheeting. So now I've done that. If I now go into sheeting configurations, I will see that configuration sitting in there, which is quite a useful thing when, for example, you don't receive the configuration or you don't have the configuration, but you want to create a configuration from a given sheeting layout. So that's quite useful. Okay, so these were the hiding of unused tabs upgrade to sheeting and paneling. Now we have also upgraded the modify frame feature from the wall plus panel or wall plus M for metal framing. We select modify frame, and in this case I've selected the top plate, and the configurations window, it gives me the exact location of the element I have selected, so it pops out with a top plate configuration, which now I adjusted to just have a single top plate, and it kind of implemented that straight away. If I select a common stud and use modify frame option, the configurations window will give me the common stud area of the configuration straight away, and I can make the adjustments in there and kind of proceed working that way. So it's quite useful actually. Now, if you use modify frame and select the bottom cripple stud, it gives you the exact location where the bottom cripple stud is located in the configuration, and you can switch it off as we've done in this case. Okay, there's another example with a secondary frame. Use modify frame option, select any element. Well, in this case, it's a common stud, and it gives you the location in the configuration of the common stud, which you can modify, switch off, for example. Okay, so that's that. Right, so when it comes to new features, there are also several new features. For example, these are just few out of many, the few that are worth mentioning really in this webinar. So things like bricks framing, frame by lines, split by even or odd number. By split, I mean split sheeting or paneling. Update assembly partially, and T-connection wall types. So we'll go through these one by one. Now, bricks framing. So we have introduced bricks framing to our software, wall plus for timber or wall plus M for metal or light gauge steel framing, something that we didn't have before. So we've kind of developed the family, the brick family, and at the moment we have two types: brick patterns with 2 bricks and with 3 bricks. As you can see in these examples, I'm now framing. The bricks turn corners really well, and they also handle openings really well. So at the moment, there are 2 brick families that you can use, obviously utilize and adjust by using type parameters. But you can kind of sense the layout difference between pattern with 2 bricks and pattern with 3 bricks. Layout is different. We might introduce more brick families with kind of a larger array of brick patterns that you can, frame or come up with. So if you open up type parameters of this brick family, you can see you can adjust quite a few things in there, like brick gaps and how it's gonna turn around the corner and what's gonna be the length of the turning around the corner of that piece of brick. You can obviously adjust the brick size with B and D type parameters. Material as well, and other things. Yep. So the type parameters are functional, and it's best to utilize them. So you now have access to framing bricks. So this could be brick clad facade, or this could be a structural brick if that's necessary. In this case, this particular bricks development was made in the context of having brick facade cladding that's non-structural. So some of these updates we're looking at today are already rolled out, and some of them are being released today or tomorrow. Today, I believe. Actually, they have already been released. I've just checked with my colleagues. So you already have these updates present. If you just update your software via the Agacad doc, yeah, you will have the updates. Okay, right. So various things you can do with brick layouts. Now, in this example, we have, let's call them two houses next to each other, and we're going to frame the walls with timber studs and plates. As you can see, there are openings, windows, and doors. So we'll see how quickly and how well can we frame the multi-layered wall panels, but also add the brick cladding on top of that. So for the bricks, as with everything here, you have to designate a particular layer in the wall. Externalmost layer will be your bricks, so you'll have to dedicate that layer and designate the depth of that layer, obviously. So the bricks can automatically adapt to the depth of the layer. You don't have to change the type parameter for the bricks in terms of the depth of the brick. You can adapt. Right, so in this example, we have insulation for our timber frame completed, and we have structural connections added to our studs and plates and bridging and other framing elements, which is great. Now I'm taking these two walls out of each building here, and I'm adding horizontal timber cladding, which is something we had it for a long time, right? Vertical, horizontal timber cladding. That's nothing new, but what may be new is that you can combine the two kinds of cladding, right? The brick and the timber cladding can be combined for your wall panels, right? And these may well be prefabricated timber panels or built inside panels. Okay, we also have sheeting to the inside. So these are actual wall panels with, sheeting, insulation, framing, and brick cladding. The corners are turning out pretty well. The openings also. So right over there where the brick cladding meets the timber cladding, there's that corner where you might have to adjust the configurations and perhaps some of the type parameters for the brick family. So that corner can be resolved with adjustment in the configurations and type parameters. But now I will take this wall and I will kind of go from having horizontal timber cladding to brick cladding. We're adding bricks as siding. That's another thing to keep in mind. So delete and reframe, remove the horizontal brick cladding and replace that with, remove the horizontal timber cladding, replace that with bricks. All right, and there's an example for you. Okay, moving on. The next feature would be frame by lines, which is quite an interesting one. The feature significantly broadens your options for frame creation and part splitting. You can now use model lines as reference for creating frames or splitting parts. right? So model lines can be drawn in any pattern on the wall. For example, you can explode important CAD file obtained from architects, designers, or engineers and convert them to model lines. Then you can use the lines as reference for creating framing elements or splitting parts. So this feature lets you achieve unique customized results more efficiently, further streamlining your design process. So in this example, I'm using Wall+M for light gauge steel framing. I'm framing those 4 walls I have modeled with openings, and I'm only framing just to get at least one framing element. In this case, I'm getting side studs, top bottom plates, and horizontal bracing. Now I'm importing the DWG that contains my desired layout for the framing members for those walls, right? I will now select the DWG file, the layout rather, that I've imported, and will partially explode that so the lines turn into Revit model lines. Then I will go to add modify elements and use frame by lines option. Then I'm asked to select a framing member from a particular wall and do that, and then it tells me to select model lines. So I can multi-select, obviously, more than one model line. Just be careful that you only select relevant model lines. When you do that, you press finish and the frame will generate. So we're generating vertical and horizontal elements, so your common studs or king studs or trimmer studs at the openings, headers, sills, etc. So we're generating all that. Again, select element from the frame, select model lines, press finish, and your framework will be generated. Obviously here I missed a couple of model lines, which I'm now adding. And in this case, we're framing with light gauge steel studs and plates, which also automatically adapt to the depth of the particular wall layer. Here I missed some headers, which I'm now generating on top of everything. Right, and you can now switch off the lines, which are now relevant because we have produced the framework, and you can zoom in and kind of inspect the framing. Okay, so in this example, we're not using the imported DWG, but we're rather going to use Revit model lines and draw it out ourselves, draw out the pattern. So we can draw individual model lines one by one. You can draw like a segment that you're going to repeat at intervals. So several vertical and horizontal elements are being drawn out. And I'm just copying them in this, well, it's a 3D view with a set work plane. That's correct in this case. You obviously would maybe like to work on the elevation view. It doesn't really matter from this point. So I extended the wall, I've updated the frame, I've copied more model lines, and now I'm going to use frame by lines option and generate the framing elements. Okay, I can also adjust the wall geometry and just click update, so it will update the framework you have created. There you go. And I believe here I'm trying to also produce sheathing for this wall panel. Splitting parts will do that, and I will just switch to show parts. Okay, so there's a new way how we can produce the framing for your timber or metal wall panels in this case. Right, so the next one is split by even or odd number. We're going to split sheathing. Okay, so I have a wall drawn up in this particular Revit model. I have made one single adjustment in the configurations. The next thing, you want to load split and invisible families from the latest Wall Plus version. There you will see that we have now added a new family with well, rather the existing family has been added with the 2 new family types. The configurations are also present in the installation. So part of the default configuration, you will see the secondary frame part split at odd and even stud and panel by panel splitting configuration there. So all you really have to do is allocate the secondary frame configuration as you just seen in the link wall menu, and simply get the main frame and then frame the secondary frame and then split parts. So if you zoom in, for the secondary frame, we have the odd number invisible element and the even number invisible element. And this will help us to split our sheeting or paneling, have the splits of sheeting paneling at odd or even number. So this layer is going, is now split at either even or odd, I'm not sure. And the other layer is split at, again, either odd or even number. So we have something like second row overlap distance, but it's not to say that it's really going to resolve this kind of framing and splitting of sheeting, where you have, you know, studs and you want the sheeting to be split at specifically at the odd stud throughout your wall panel and at even stud throughout your wall panel. So that's quite a new and exciting feature. The next one is update assembly partially. So right here in this example, we have 2 assemblies. So assembly 92 with 2 sheets and assembly 91 with 2 sheets as well. Both of these assemblies were generated using a sheet template, which is an assembly 82. And before that, we will go into the drawing configurations. As you can see in the drawing configuration frame example, if I go to sheets, I will see that the 2 sheets I have designated are using sheet template of wall 82. Right? So for those who are already using our software, that's a standard workflow. There's nothing new using sheet templates. And for example, if I go into the original wall 82 assembly sheet that I use as a template, I will make some adjustments, and I will go into the second sheet of assembly 82, will make some adjustments as well. And by the way, what you're seeing here throughout the webinar is the Wall Plus metric sample project, which you can also download from our technical documentation page. So now I've made some changes, and now I will open up 3D view, zoom in onto my wall assemblies 91 and 92. Then I will use update assembly partially. I will first select the 2 assemblies and then select update assembly partially, and in the pop-out window you will be asked what part of the assemblies do you want to update. You can update dimensions and tags if the configurations have changed, but you can also update other aspects of your assembly. And as you can see now, our sheets have been updated based on what we have selected. So we wanted to update the positions of a particular views, and has updated that based, again, on assembly 82 changes. The next one is the T-connection wall types. That's, again, a quite exciting one. So we have implemented this new feature for the T-connections only at this moment. If we go to T-connections, wall framing configurations, we can see that there's a plus and minus icons or symbols over there. So it allows us to add rules for wall types that we're going to be connecting into the main wall, right, to create a T-connection. So right here, I have created 4 rules. So wall type 2 rule has wall type 2 switched on, and it also has a T connection layout that's different from wall type 3, for example. So I have created 4 unique T connections for 4 unique wall types that are going to be connecting into my main wall. Okay, and there's my main wall right over here. Let's call it external wall, and 4 internal walls, type 1 to 4, and that are connecting to my external wall. So if I go and frame the external wall, I will get these 4 distinct and unique T connections as I described in the configurations, obviously. So wall type 2, for example, will create this kind of configuration. Wall type 3 will create this kind of configuration when joining another wall and creating a T connection, right? So that's something we didn't have before, but it's proving to be quite successful and useful to a lot of the users when dealing with wall connections. So it just offers a wider range of customization when it comes to T connections. And in the future, we hopefully implement this for all the remaining connection types. As you can see, the butt connection is quite a straightforward and simple one. It can be more complex, obviously, depending on your desired result, but the T connection is unique to every wall type adjoining the main or external wall. There you go. So on top of everything, there's another segment of the webinar where we're going to look at some of the feature enhancements. So some of the existing features and how we enhance them. The content will be some of the features you can see here. So select elements by filter, simple split mode, enhanced paneling installation, and autofill assembly, update a created parameter. So the first one up is select elements by filter. So that's just an additional filtering we have now implemented for our wood and metal tools. Again, I'm using our Wall Plus metric sample project. And if you go into 3D demo project 3D view and go into the filtering, you will see the kinds of filters we have created here just as an example, right? Just to control the visibility. And the filters are based on the parameters which you fill in as you frame your walls, your roofs, and your floors, right? So if you take a stud, for example, and as you know, when you frame it, the parameters are filled in automatically. So some of the key information about the stud and sort of secondary information is present with every framing member. You can change the element mark definitions in the configurations. Those element mark definitions apply to all the configuration types and all the configurations, right? So you have elements and then the parameters that are going to be filled in based on what you write here in this very field, right? So we have framing member parameter, framing member description parameter, framing member type parameter. These are instance parameters of your framing members that are going to be filled in. And what you can do here is customize what sort of information is going to be populated for these instance parameters. So the reason I'm showing this is that it could help you in the filtering area. So for example, select elements by filter is going to pop out. And here I have a default configuration, which I have created. And the filtering is, again, using framing member mark instance parameter and the value of that instance parameter. So here I have quite easily filtered out my opening elements. So the king studs, the trimmer studs, header plate and sill plate are now really present, and it's quite easy to locate them, zoom in and zoom onto them, or isolate them. So it's quite useful. Okay. The next one is simple split mode. All right, so I have an example here for which I'm going to split parts to get my sheathing, and just take a note how long it takes to split parts for this wall, for which we have a single sheathing layer that consists of small pieces of sheeting or some sort of small panels. Now, if I go into the sheeting configurations, sheeting layout, and I check simple split mode box, now I'm going to reset the parts and split again, and take a note how long it will take to split the parts now. So the idea of simple split mode is that it does split parts twice faster, right? That means some of the functionality is disabled, but that functionality is not really relevant in some of the cases, right? So the simple split mode will come handy when you really have lots of walls or floors or roofs and a lot of small panels or items, whatever you may call them, right? So it will really halve the time for splitting parts for many walls that consist of many small pieces. That's the idea behind it. Another one is enhanced paneling insulation feature or enhancement. So in this case, again, I'm going to show you a few examples, right? So we can get the insulation like this, where there's one piece insulation. It's still cut by vertical, horizontal, or diagonal, as in this case, elements. It's still cut, but it's one piece. In the configurations, I can set it so that it is rather narrow and falls in line with stud spacing, which is 600 in millimeters. And you can have a piece like this. What we've done now is we added a type parameter to our metal and wood plates and studs. So you select split parts parameter for your studs and plates in the type parameters, and you also select split vertical and horizontal elements as you've just seen in the paneling configurations. And now it's going to automatically split your insulation, if it is insulation in this case, based on your horizontal and vertical elements, right? So these now become individual pieces. So that's something you were kind of able to do that before, but not really as convenient and not really as thorough. Also keep in mind you have cut with voids when loaded checkbox on for your studs and plates. So this option will help you to actually split Revit parts. But you have it on, you have the split parts type parameter for your studs and plates on, and then you adjust the paneling configuration like you've seen previously, and will automatically split your insulation based on your vertical and horizontal elements. And the last one, I believe, is autofilling assembly updated or created instance parameter. So that's a really useful and rather delayed functionality we didn't used to have, but it's quite necessary for a lot of our customers, just having a timestamp for our assemblies. So if we create an assembly, we will have the instance parameter of the assembly with a timestamp, the date and time, as you can see over here. So this applies when you are creating assemblies, but also when you're updating assemblies. Okay, and the timestamp has been updated. So this may help you in the scheduling, or generally having the timestamp is a good idea overall. Okay, so that was it. We went through 3 segments of our updates, something to do with technical documentation and so on. The others to do with the new features, and the third segment was about feature enhancements. So I would encourage you to actually try out the software for free. We have trials. If you follow these links, agacad.com/products for wood framing, and metal framing/metal framing for metal framing suite or metal framing products. So you can try it out. Okay, so that's us. Thank you everyone for joining the session. Again, if you have any further questions, you can contact us at this email. Other than that, I want to thank you for joining the session, and we will see you in the future webinars. Thank you.